What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to today's video. And in today's video, we are going to cover what 3D printer should you buy. Now, what I did here is compile a small list of, I think, some printers that I think would be useful for those of you guys that are within a budget. I'll primarily be tackling printers within a budget. Of course, there are specs and other things like that that are important, but mainly when it comes to buying a printer, most of us think about spending, and we don't want to spend a lot because of course it's better to save money, but at the same time, if we can get more bang for our buck, that'd be great. So what I want to do now is go over some 3D printers that I think that will be incredibly useful for you guys. Of course, this list could be actually 10 times longer just because there's so many printers out there from so many brands. But what I want to do is cover some printers from some brands that I have personally have used, and things that I personally would recommend, especially since I've been 3D printing for quite some time. So if you're figuring out what printer to buy and want to know the best one based on budget, function, and productivity, then you are in the right place, okay? So additionally, the first thing is that there are many places to find and purchase 3D printers. You have Amazon, you have the manufacturer website, you have Micro Center, and then you have OfferUp or Facebook Marketplace. Now, in my personal opinion, if you were to buy a 3D printer and you want to get it for as cheap as possible, brand new, you should always check the manufacturer's website. Now, if you don't care about that, if you don't care about waiting maybe a week or two or however long it takes, then Amazon would be your best bet. Now, there's some companies that don't let you do that, like Bamboo Labs, that doesn't sell on Amazon because Bamboo, they sell these printers like hotcakes and they have no need for Amazon, but you kind of get the idea. Now, there are other places like Micro Center which do sell these printers, and sometimes places like these actually have an edge over a manufacturer website because Micro Center might sometimes actually bundle it. So they might say they have a 3D printer for sale and they might bundle it with some filaments in addition to it just because you walked into the store and purchased it right then and there. And then if you have or if you're handicapped in terms of money and you don't care whether a printer is used, then you could look up an OfferUp in Marketplace. And typically, this is where if you were a little bit more tech savvy in terms of the repairs and the maintenance and all that stuff, then I would go with some used printer, because if you were to go to the used market with a 3D printer without any knowledge about 3D printing, you're going to have a lot tougher time trying to diagnose the issues, and you're probably not going to enjoy it. So if you are brand new, best to get a new printer. If you're someone who's been in the industry and knows exactly what to do, then a used printer makes more sense, as you probably know when an issue is occurring or what to do or what to fix. So here what I want to do is cover some printers under 250 bucks. Now the lineup for this budget is not going to be that much. I mean, let's be fair and reasonable here. $250 for a 3D printer nowadays is basically nothing. It will get you the bare minimum. It's not going to be this super sleek fancy machine. They have gotten a lot better over the years though, because when I first started, 3D printers actually started out looking, or a 3D printer for around this price was basically this. And I'm sure most of you had an Ender 3. This is where I started. And in order to get something reasonable or full functionality from this machine, you have to upgrade it and purchase upgrades. So I listed this here for you guys to take a look at. Of course, this is probably not the best option for you guys, but this is the general idea or the starting point from where you could find something like, or I guess the bare minimum of what you get. Additionally, you can actually find this a lot cheaper. I think Micro Center sells this for around $100. So if you have a Micro Center and you just want to get into 3D printing for the bare minimum, I do believe they sell this for $100. The next one is the Ender 3 V3 SE. Now, I know there's many Ender 3s. Their lineup is ridiculous at this point. They're basically just creating a new printer every single week. I'm exaggerating, but let's take a look. For this price here, you have around $189. Last week, this was actually around $170, I think. So now keep in mind, I'm recording this on January 1st, 2024. So prices fluctuate, Creality changes prices and stuff all the time. And I mean, you can't, honestly, in my opinion, if I had this back in the day when I first got started, this would actually set me up, especially if I was on a budget. So honestly, in my opinion, some sort of Creality Ender series, since all of these newer printers, they tend to have a lot more upgrades, like the direct drive, like the filament detector, multi bed leveling, if this even has this. I think so. um, and honestly, it's not a bad printer. You'll get exactly what you pay for. You'll get some good prints. It will require some tweaking. It would require some manual work, but I think it teaches you a lot about 3D printing and essentially how to get over those hurdles. Now, let's just say if you're someone that has a little bit more money to spend, okay? Now, actually, before I get into that, um, these printers are baseline. You'll get exactly what you pay for. You can still get great prints, but you'll actually need more patience and some existing background around this hobby to make this much more enjoyable. Otherwise, if you are completely new, this printer would probably not be your best fit. I can't tell you how many times I've heard someone quit 3D printing because they get the bare minimum printer and their expectations are that they're going to get these super high quality resin prints and these prints that look outstanding. It's just not possible. Now, could you get amazing quality prints with these machines? Yes, but you got to know what you're doing. So keep in mind, if you just want something that works right out the gate, you're going to have to put a little bit more money into this budget here in order to make it work, which leads us to the next thing, which is printers under $500. So, of course, you're obviously going to see the $1,000 one, but let's quickly go over $500. So, nowadays, you can easily find printers that are faster, that are out of the box, and that are ready to print. First one, A1. There's A1 and A1 Mini. Let's go over the A1 Mini, which is around $249. I believe just on the printer itself. So after taxes, of course, it's around $300 or something like that. Or actually, it's $299. Excuse me. For this printer, you're gonna get exactly what you pay for. You're gonna get a fast printer. You're gonna get a reliable company, but you're handicapped to their ecosystem. So I have two printers right behind me. I have the Bambu Labs X1 and X1 Carbon, and I got these two printers right around the release time of after the Kickstarter campaign. So I've had these printers for quite some time, and I've never had any major issues with them. Additionally, I only ever had to do maintenance maybe 2 to 3 times, and over the past year and a half or so, it's really not bad. I had an Ender 3, and I did maintenance almost every month, so or every week, honestly. So with this, you're not going to get like this massive bed where you can print large prints. You're going to get really smaller prints, more like miniatures and smaller things. So if you are handicapped in terms of budget and you just want something that's quick and reliable and out of the box, this would be your best bet, but don't expect anything bigger. Additionally, you have the A1, which is $399. Same exact thing, same company, reliable, useful, multicolor. You have a build plate, which is also called a bed, which is the surface area of the bed here. 256 by 256 by 256, which is not bad, which is about 10 inches, give or take. And this is a traditional bed slinger, which is what we saw with the Ender 3. So just keep in mind, you're still handicapped to the ecosystem, but overall, I imagine this is a great printer. The next printer, which is out of the Bambu Labs ecosystem, is the Anker M5 3D printer. Now, this printer looks very similar to the A1 3D printer, but this actually came out before that, so let's give Anker that credit. Now, what you'll get with Anker that you won't get with Bambu Labs is that Anker is a trusted brand. Now, I know Bambu Labs is also a trusted brand, but Anker has they have been in the tech industry for so many years now, so you kind of associate Anker with technology, with phones, with cables and cases and all this stuff. And for around $400, which is the similar price to the A1, you can't go wrong with this. Now, I cannot argue about the speeds with this because this seems to have similar speeds. So let's see if we can find any speeds, anything referring to speeds about the A1. So you're getting a max speed of 500 millimeters with this one and 500 millimeters with this one as well. So it seems to me that they're the same speeds. Now, I can't tell you exactly if they are because I don't have these two printers in hand to compare. But let's just go based off of the marking material here. Now, like I said, the only thing that Anker really has over Bambu Labs is just the brand recognition. Now, in terms of quality, it's really hard to say that since the marketing material proves that there's some good quality here. But honestly, if you were to go with the Anker versus the Bambu Labs, I would say Bambu Labs, mainly because this doesn't allow multicolor. And in the future, if you want to add some multicolor to your prints, then you would get the combo, which is around an extra $250. With Anchor, you really can't do it. You're going to be tapped that single color, but these pretty much have the same exact thing where they have a camera. I believe this has auto leveling and stuff like that. So not a bad printer, but you'll be compromising based off of whichever you get. So that's a quick reference to that printer. Then we have the K1 printer by Creality. Now this is a K1. This is Creality's version of the Bambu Labs X1 and X1 Carbon. Now, Creality, as soon as Bambu Labs released their version of the X1 and X1 Carbon, of course, Creality followed suit. Since a lot of these manufacturers, or these, I believe these companies do tend to work with each other and bounce off ideas. So it's not really more so that they're stealing ideas, it's just technically how they operate. So just keep in mind that although this is a kind of like a similar version of the Bambu Labs printer, you still won't get the same exact features like you would Bambu Labs. You won't get this. I don't believe that Creality is going to be making a multicolor system for this. I could be wrong. Of course, it's been about maybe a year or so since this has come out. And you know, there's no sign about multicolor. So we are going to safe to assume that there isn't. But if that changes, then that'd be great. But honestly, in my opinion, for $449, you get basically a Bambu Labs clone. It's not bad. You're getting it from Creality. Now, what Creality has over Bambu Labs is that you're not capped in their ecosystem. Or I imagine that you can source some of these materials on Amazon. So, for example, if you need a nozzle from, let's just say, Bambu Labs, you're gonna have to wait 2 to 3 days. And honestly, it's just not convenient. So if you're using these printers for work or you have projects due, Bambu is probably not going to be the most friendliest in terms of time constraints. Unlike Creality, I've sourced a lot of my materials from Amazon, and Amazon is the next day, and sometimes it's the same day. So it's really hard to beat that, especially when you are on a time crunch. And I cannot tell you guys when I had a project due and I had to print and I had to mail out, and Amazon just comes in clutch with some Creality components that I could use for my printer and fix it, especially or like filament and stuff like that. With Bambu Labs, you're going to be paying a markup for everything and filament, and the speed isn't as quick, but I'll give them credit that you're not going to be waiting a week most of the time, but you will be waiting at least a couple of days. So just keep that in mind. So this is a great option if you are not looking to get capped into an ecosystem. Just think of it maybe like Android and Apple. Apple has an ecosystem where Android is kind of like free reign. There's a little bit more custom third-party stuff going on. So awesome printer by the looks of it. Of course, do your own research. Do look at reviews and stuff like that. Additionally, we have the Elegoo Neptune 4 Max. Now, I actually had a large format printer I would say several years ago, and I actually had an Ender 3 Max. And what I really like about these printers is that if you're someone that's just looking to print large stuff, maybe you don't care about the speeds, maybe you don't care about necessarily having the fastest or the nicest or impressing your friends or making content, stuff like that. Maybe you just want to print helmets. Maybe you're a cosplay. Maybe you want to print large pieces that you can take with you for events and stuff like that. Then this would be a great option here. And Elegoo is a trusted brand. This is actually from Matter Hackers. So I believe if you look on the Elegoo website, this might be a little bit cheaper. But for 420 millimeters by 480, that's almost, I believe, 16 inches, I believe. Or excuse me here. So let me see. Select your print volume 225. There is a large, so the Neptune 4. So I believe this is the largest one. The largest one has a pretty large, there it is. So 420 by 420 by 480, I believe that's the print volume. And that basically 16.5 inches. That's really large. That's 1.5 times more than what Bambu and Creality have right now for their K1 and X1 and most of their printers. So it's a large printer, allows you to print larger items, and honestly, it's not going to be the nicest, like I said, but it's going to get the job done for large format prints. But also keep in mind you won't have multicolor. So additionally, it also touts marketing software or software like Clipper, which is basically a firmware that allows your printer to print a little bit faster and allows it to, I believe, work on complicated, I guess, scenarios where it can print a little faster. I don't remember exactly. I haven't used Clipper in a really long time, so don't quote me on that. I'm sure someone in the comments will mention that. But great printer. especially if you're just looking for something with a large build plate. Okay, so I just wanted to throw that out there since I know some of you may not actually care about getting a fast printer. Additionally, the last one, which is around $320, which is the S1 Plus, which is just a little bit bigger than most Ender 3s and just a little bit bigger than the Bambu Labs printer. But for $319, you get 300 by 300 by 300, which I believe is about 12 inches or so, 11 or 12 inches. So it's a little bit bigger. So I say about 2 inches more you would get. And it's a great printer. It has everything you need, in my opinion. For $320 back then, if you get just a basic Ender 3, which is around $150, and then you upgraded it, then you'd get around this price tag, and that's assuming you know how to upgrade your printer. Nowadays, these printers come fully upgraded, so you have your direct drive, you have your touchscreen here, you have a built-in tool case at the bottom, you have your filament feeder with, I think it might have a detector right there. Yeah, as a filament detector. Dual axis. So I mean, basically, you get everything you need for $300, $320. And of course, Creality doesn't have you tap to their ecosystem, so you can actually source materials from Creality and Amazon and anywhere that's, I guess, that sells these materials. So moving on, like I said, these printers are great for beginners and for the price. So I know that $500 for a lot of people is still a lot of money. I totally get it, but in my opinion, this is where printing becomes much more enjoyable and has much easier functionality, a nicer design, simple utility. Print speeds and quality, of course, will vary between printers, but these are great for simple projects and prints, especially if you don't plan on printing with like abrasive materials or materials that are like that may be a little bit more harmful, since a lot of these don't have enclosures. I think only the K1 has the enclosure. But more so, like if you're just looking to have fun and you just want something that's out of the box, that's going to work within the next 30 minutes once you take it out the box, then these printers are great. And for under $500, it's really not that bad. Now, the next is printers under $1,000. Now, let me preface this, that if you're someone that's willing to spend at least or anything under $1,000, let's just say anywhere between $500 to $1,000, you're very likely someone that's already been in this industry. You already know what you're doing, and you're probably someone that's really into the hobby in some way, shape, or form, or have a business around it. Or if you're just rich and you just don't care about your money and this is what you want to go for right away as a first time, then that'd probably be your scenario. But in this case here, let's just say under $1,000, printers around this range become much more enjoyable, easy to use, and allow for a variety of filament and print material types. Additionally, this is in the premium category of printers, and I mean for desktop home printers, not like commercial printers. So if you have the money and plan on buying a printers for crafts or a business, then I would recommend a budget here to reduce issues later on. Now, before I get into these printers, I mentioned here that if you plan on operating a business or creating crafts or selling products, let's just say if you want to sell products on Etsy, or if you want to sell your STL files, or if you want to create a Patreon where you sell your STL files on a subscription basis, I would highly recommend that this is where you start. Now, assuming that you're someone that's already into the hobby or into the business, already has a business, I would only recommend getting printers like these because if you get anything else, you're going to be handicapped by time, you're going to be handicapped by quality, and you're going to be handicapped by the support system. So I believe, in my opinion, that these printers do have an existing support system. They have a great quality, and they're backed by a reputable brand, and that's what you want, especially if you're running a business, because when you're running a business, you're always handicapped by your own time, by print time, and by all these other factors and filament and stuff like that, and we're trying to improve profits while reducing costs. So just keep that in mind. So let's just say the first one is the Bambu Labs P1S. So the P1S is going to be an awesome option for everyone in here who is willing to spend that money and who has a business around 3D printing. In my opinion, if I would have known that the P1S was going to come out, I would not have gotten my X1 and X1 Carbon. I could have gotten 4 of these for the price of these 2 printers right behind me, in my opinion. And honestly, if you plan on doing multicolor materials and stuff like that, then this would be your best bet. For under $1,000, you get multicolor, you get the printer, you get their the enclosure, so you can build or print with more abrasive materials like PLA carbon fiber or maybe ABS or ASA and stuff like that. Of course, you might need to still upgrade the nozzle, but it's still a well polished, well designed printer that I think most of you would probably want if you're having a print farm. Next printer is the P1P. Of course, this is the next step down below that. So let's just say if you're just starting a 3D printing business, let's just say you have a 3D printer already and you're just saying, okay, well, I want to spend this money, I want to invest in a printer, and I'm capped at income, or I'm capped at the money, at the amount of money I could spend. I just want a printer that works. Well, the P1P will do exactly that. If you're not working with abrasive materials, if you're not working with harmful materials, if you're not working with anything that could possibly require an enclosure or that is sensitive to terms of air and drafts and stuff like that, then this would be your best bet. It's quick, fast, and easy. It's going to work right out the box. And of course, for $600, you really cannot go wrong with this. I wish this existed maybe 3 to 4 years ago. This hobby would have been much more enjoyable. But nowadays, $600 gets you entry to their ecosystem for high speed, high quality, and fast. And especially since this is, I forgot, Core XY. There's another word for it. I don't think it's called Core XY for this 3, because there's a rod here, a rod in the left, and a rod on the right. But otherwise, I mean, in terms of quality and company, great printer. Next is the K1 Max. Now, this is the, like I said, Bambu Labs clone to their P1S, P1P, X1, and X1 carbon series. And honestly, like I said, it looks the exact same, although it's Creality's version of how they design it. Now, what this has over the P1S and any other any other Bambu Labs printer is the fact that the K1 actually has a larger build plate, so it has 300 millimeters. So I believe, like I said, that's around 2 extra inches. I could be totally wrong, but honestly, sometimes you just need those extra inches of space. And there have been times where my prints don't fit just because I was off by just a half an inch or just a quarter, and you just, you know, you have to rework the whole design. And if you want something that's a little bit larger, that's not tapped into an ecosystem, the K1 Max would be an excellent printer for that. And for $764, it is a little bit more than the P1P and the P1S. With just the printer itself, I mean. So I don't know why. Oh, I see. So just the P1S here. For $750, $764, it's really not that bad. And you won't be tapped into their ecosystem, like I said. So just keep that in mind. The last printer here is the MK4 Plus by Prusa. Now, Prusa, if you guys are new to 3D printing or who not been in it for so long, Prusa, I think, in my opinion, has been the standard for high quality performance printing. But I do also believe they have fallen behind in a way. Now, back then, before Bambu, let's just say maybe a year or two before Bambu, Prusa was like the default printer you had if you wanted a high quality setup and print farm, or if you wanted to run a business, this is what you would get. Like if you wanted quality prints by a company that has been around for a long time, this is what you would do or purchase. Of course, they had the MK3 back then. Of course, now it's the MK4. But for $800, you'll get a high quality printer. This is a company that's been around for a long time, and most of you will probably recognize them anyway. And although, in my opinion, that this would not be great for someone who is just getting started with a 3D printing business and who probably doesn't have some experience with these lower tier printers like the Ender 3. And the reason why is because this printer has a very similar setup to like the Ender 3, which is what we cover early on in the video, like this. So you can see here. So let's just say if there was a comparison 2 years ago, this is what you would be comparing it to, this Creality printer by this Prusa. And they're basically the exact same in terms of structure, but Prusa has a big leg up in terms of the quality back then. So just keep that in mind. For $800, in my opinion, I'm not sure I would find myself purchasing this. Now, if you're a diehard fan of Prusa, then of course you probably would buy this anyway. But if you're someone, I would say, that has this is a little bit more of a niche printer, like someone who has an engineering background, someone who is in STEM, someone who I guess, maybe in the sciences, then this printer is kind of marketed to you, and it kind of feels that way, especially with the design and the look and stuff like that. But otherwise, $800 in comparison to every other printer here, And especially if this is a hobby or a fast-paced business, this probably would not be the best right now for a business, but this would be great for someone who really cares about these little small things and wants to purchase from a company that's not from, like Creality or Bamboo and stuff like that, which I believe it's not with it. I believe they're in China. So don't quote me on that, but my opinion, this is a printer for more, feels like someone in STEMs, if that makes sense. Now, it could be wrong, but keep that in mind. So that's a quick overview as to what printers you should buy. There are many printers. Honestly, I could this whole page would be filled with them if we were literally to list out every single printer. But in my opinion, for what you get, or you get what you pay for with this hobby. And if you really want to have a lot of fun with it, I would start anywhere from $500 to $1,000. And any printer between this range. If you're someone that just, if you're capped on income, I totally get it. Anything under here, it's going to be a great starting point. It's going to teach you a lot. You're going to learn a lot. And it's going to give you a good idea into the hobby without a lot of investment. And then once you do start making some money from this, or if you get some extra income, or if you build a business and you're actually making money with these standard printers, then of course upgrade. So with that said, let me know you guys' thoughts and opinions down below in the comment section. What printer would you recommend? Of course, this is just a brief list of printers in my opinion that I think that are really good and that I've seen and used, or at least have seen other people used. And of course, at the time of recording this video, there's going to be new printers being released and things changed, prices changed, and that's just the state of the industry. So with that said, this is Brandon signing out. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. See you guys in the next one.